Henry Cejudo says Aljamain Sterling is afraid to fight him. Also, doctors are speaking out against Dana White's Power Slap League. Khabib Nurmagomedov revealed just how nervous he felt for Islam Makhachev going into UFC 280. And Beneil Dariush explains why Alexander Volkanovski has such a hard time going into a fight with Islam Makhachev next. All of the latest MMA news right here on MMA Quick Takes. Beneil Dariush believes that Alexander Volkanovski will be tested like never before against someone like Islam Makhachev. Volkanovski is 25-1 in MMA and 12-0 in the UFC, and he's the reigning featherweight champ. After Makhachev submitted Oliveira at round 2 in UFC 280, he called Volkanovski into the octagon for a face-off. Makhachev is eyeing a super fight against Volkanovski at UFC 284 for his very first defense in Australia. But after being around Volkanovski during fight week, Dariush thinks Volkanovski would struggle with the size difference when going against strong lightweights like Makhachev. Dariush is admittedly disappointed in seeing the Volkanovski-Makhachev matchup. As we mentioned before, Dariush was a huge contender. Given that he's on an 8-fight win streak of his own, I can completely understand his disappointment. We'll find out if Dariush is right about Volkanovski's chances against Makhachev soon, but for right now we wait to see what the UFC announces. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think Volkanovski has any semblance of a chance against Makhachev in this fight? Khabib Nurmagomedov has just explained why he was riddled with nerves in Islam Makhachev's UFC 280 title fight. He told ESPN's Brett Okamoto, quote, "Very nervous, because brother, like I watch Islam all his life, last 20 years, the way how we work so hard, amateur career, professional career. This is a very hard sport. Anytime, anything can happen. Look at Kamaru Usman. He was winning all 5 rounds, boom, one time finish. He lose his belt. Same thing with Islam. Anytime, anything can happen. Charles is so good. He's a high-level fighter. And of course, I was very nervous because I love this guy. We grew up together. He was my father's favorite student." I find this extremely interesting because before the fight, as he naturally would, Khabib Nurmagomedov was talking about how Charles Oliveira stood no match against Islam Makhachev. He was saying that Charles Oliveira didn't have a ground game. I actually find it very respectable that Khabib is coming out now and talking about just how nervous he was. I was starting to think that Khabib wasn't giving Charles Oliveira the respect that he was due going into this fight. But now that we've seen this more humbled version of him after Islam Makhachev got his title, we see now that it was all just business. Khabib has long touted his teammate Islam Makhachev as practically the GOAT in the making. So Milan Ordonez said it best. It was a symbolic moment for Khabib to be wrapping that belt around Makhachev's waist after that win. Physicians aren't sold on the safety of a sport that doesn't allow defense, if you even want to call it a sport. UFC President Dana White would like everyone to believe that slap fighting is a safe sport because they ran to regulation for Dana White's Power Slap League. However, despite his best efforts, not everyone is buying what White is selling. He recently spoke to MMA Fighting about the approval that he got from the Nevada State Athletic Commission. While pushing the safety angle, White also took shots at his doubters and detractors. He said, quote, "The bottom line is, in a boxing match, guys get hit with 300 to 400 punches in a fucking fight. These guys are going to get hit with 3 slaps. For these morons to be talking all the shit that they are about the Athletic Commission did the right thing. So did we. We run right toward regulation. Regulate the sport to make sure it's safe for everybody, because a lot of people are going to get involved in this just like they did in MMA. Some will argue that those won't make a sport that has 0 defense and is based solely on delivering free concussive blows to the head safe. Neurologist Dr. Nitin Sethi actually spoke out about this situation and is not in favor of what Dana White is trying to pull off. He said, "Open-handed slaps delivered with such force to the opponent's face frequently cause the person's legs to buckle, at times suffer momentary, sometimes longer, loss of consciousness, and collapse to the floor. These are all concussive injuries of varying duration. The athlete who is on the receiving end of the slap has no option available to him to defend himself. These slaps will add up. In my professional opinion, those who partake in this sport will also suffer the stigmata of chronic neurological injuries." Dr. Sethi also wasn't alone in speaking out against this sport. There were a couple other doctors who came forward as well. Not to mention, as I've discussed before, there's already been a death in this sport. I understand what Dana White's trying to do business-wise, but this is just something I cannot get on board with. I would love to know what you guys think in the chat. Can you get on board with slap fighting? Do you consider it a sport, even if it's sanctioned? These fighters are unable to defend themselves. They're blatantly taking shots to the face. I just find it very difficult to consider this a combat sport. Henry Cejudo suddenly appears closer than ever to the title shot that he's been asking for since coming back into the picture. UFC 280 has come and gone, but what remains is Aljamain Sterling still sitting as the UFC bantamweight title holder. Ahead of the bout's fruition, speculation swirled aplenty about who might be Aljamain Sterling's next opponent. Along with TJ Dillashaw's name in the mix was former champ Henry Cejudo. Cejudo has re-entered the USADA testing pool and is all good to officially come back. It's just a matter of getting a fight. Cejudo has been pretty vocal about his dream in getting a third UFC title, but with Volkanovski seemingly set to challenge for the lightweight gold, Cejudo is now back to targeting his old bantamweight strap. I don't know, guys. I've said it before, I've kind of fallen off the Cejudo train. I understand what he's trying to do by lumping his name back into the picture, especially with Aljamain Sterling now. But after the controversial win with Petr Yan before, and now knowing that TJ Dillashaw willingly went into a fight with an injured shoulder, if Henry Cejudo does come back into the picture, that's something that I would have to really consider for a winner. Simply because I don't think we've seen the best of Aljamain Sterling. I think we've seen versions of him that were capable of putting on fights against injured fighters and split decision wins. Now, I know there are a lot of people who are pretty hard on the Aljamain Sterling train, and I respect that. I respect what Aljamain Sterling has had to do to get up to this point, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't have any reservations about him. I don't think he's going to be champ for much longer, especially when he has to go up against an opponent who's not injured and has not had any controversy leading into a fight. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like the idea of Sterling versus Cejudo? If you do, who do you think wins? If you don't like the idea, who do you think Sterling should fight next? Leave all your comments down in the comment section. I've been doing my very best to try and respond to every comment that has to do with these topics. Make sure you guys hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell so you can stay tuned in to all of our live streams and uploads. This is all of your latest MMA news on your favorite MMA Quick Takes.